Hey, Dr. Karen Can here. Welcome to another edition of the Spiritual Medicine Digest. And for this week, a couple things I want to talk to you about. The first is that we have these ascension upgrades. That's what I call them. And that's when the vibration of everything in the planet, our reality, if you will, starts to increase, and that's a good thing. It's like bringing more light. The thing is that when we bring more light, sometimes we reveal like the dirt that's been there that hasn't been cleaned up yet, and that could take the form of entities. And on one level, because of the quickening that time seems to be running faster, and the ascension cycles, I've named 4 of them: the rising, expansion, resistance, and integration. The resistance part, that phase of the ascension cycle, is when we tend to see entity activity. And some people think, oh my gosh, there's more entities in the world. The world's, it's terrible. What's happening? But my point of view is that, sometimes when we open that dirty closet and we finally see all the dirt and the cobwebs and mold or whatever that's growing there, we get a chance to do something about it and get to clean it. But if you didn't know you had that closet, right, you don't get to clean it. So it's not so much that there are more entities in our reality. In fact, there are less. But they get revealed at these different stages of the ascension cycle, and specifically the resistance cycle. And when that happens, we don't have to, get worried or upset or fearful or anything like that. We just need to do a healing. Now, what I've discovered recently is last week I talked about these automatic alignment activators. So they're like an auto healing morphic field or bubble, if you will. And these auto alignment activators have several components. One is an auto heal feature, but in order to auto heal something, you need a certain amount of consciousness. And normally, when we think about something or when we attend to something, that's what triggers the healing, that attention. So it's like, how do we get something automatic when we're not attending to it? Well, in some cases, we're not allowed to do that yet. But in other cases, we are. Now, one of the cases where I was able to create an automatic alignment activator, which has 3 components. One is it has a sense of discernment. So it has a quality of discernment that it could tell whether or not there are, in this case, that I created, entities related to the ascension cycle. Number 2, the higher self and the spirit team, God team, is able to intervene. So the higher self is the one that has that discernment, has that attention. I know that sounds kind of weird, like you're not consciously attending it to, but your higher self is. So those are the 3 components. So your higher self, your God spirit team's doing the work, and it has a sense of discernment and Topacan healing frequencies in this automatic alignment bubble. So those are the 3 main things. So I was able to create one that auto clears entities related to those that seemingly appear or are ready to heal with an ascension resistance part of the ascension cycle. So in other words, when these 4 phases occur, when the ascension resistance occurs, this is where we see a lot of entity activity. Now there is a positive morphic field, a AAA, if you will, automatic alignment activator, which can then auto heal entities related to this part of the cycle. Now, I did ask a source about how efficient or effective it is, about 85%, and in asking why it's not 100%, the reason is that some people will need their entities because of their own spiritual evolution and their own spiritual growth. So we are not allowed to take that opportunity away from them. But for the rest of us that don't need necessarily that interference, interaction, whatever, for our spiritual growth, then those can auto clear. Cool. So just in case you're not sure whether this is active for you, you can certainly divine muscle test it. Say, hey, that AAA that auto clears entities during the ascension resistance cycle, do I have that in my life? And if you get a no, then you can ask if you're allowed to have it. And if you are, then you can go ahead and download and activate it in you, right? Like just how we do in the Topacan Healing Directives. So if you're a student, you'll know how to do that. The other thing is that I'm learning some really great stuff from Gaia TV. Highly recommend a subscription in case you don't have one already. And I'm watching a couple of different shows. I don't have a lot of time, but it seems to be like our dinner thing that my husband and I do these days. So we were watching Missing Links recently, and what's really great is I've heard about heart brain coherence from the Heart Math Institute. And they actually have a little device which I bought, which we're playing with now. And I think, when I talked to Source about it, that the stillness exercise that I highly recommend, actually we do get that heart brain coherence. So, but I thought to myself, well, we know we have special nerves in the heart. The heart has its own brain, which is only recognized only several years ago. It's a brand new discovery. So we have a brain in our heads, we have a brain in our heart, but we also have a brain in our gut. So we actually have a lot of nerve endings in the gut, and there may be more nerve endings in the gut than in the brain. So what about brain, heart, gut coherence, right? And I'm getting from Source that that is as important as heart brain coherence. So some people have lately been having trouble with their enteric, their gut nervous system being out of whack, and that could be causing diarrhea, dry heaves, constipation, abdominal pain, bloating, seemingly intolerance to things that they eat. So you can actually check how happy the enteric nervous system is. If you know the divine muscle testing technique that we teach in Topican healing, then you can just ask, how happy is my enteric nervous system? And the cool thing now is you can ask, how happy is the relationship and communication between all these three brains? It's really interesting that this show from Greg Braden that I'm watching, Missing Links, because he's talking about the science, like what they've discovered in the last 30, 50 years that we don't teach in schools yet. And one of the interesting things is how our emotions can change our DNA. And that's called epigenetics. And in fact, at the Omega Institute, when we have our Light Warrior training, you'll have an embodied experience of what that is, the epigenetics. And then in addition to our feelings changing our DNA, we can actually, the DNA can actually change the stuff, the field around us, to basically change our reality, in short. So check out the Missing Link series if you're interested on the science on this. So if you have heart-brain coherence, and there's like energies of gratitude and compassion that come out of that, then what happens is that you start to morph and change your DNA then morphs and changes your reality around you, kind of like the quantum physics version of how you manifest your new reality. So if you're into healing, this is really great for you. So at the Omega Institute at Light Warrior Training, we are going to be going through how to achieve that heart, brain, gut coherence. So that triple coherence. I'm not sure what I'm calling it right now, but just, to refer to it, but stay tuned for that. So speaking of the Omega Institute, so this is September 22nd to 27th. 22nd, you're actually landing there, having dinner. And then 23rd to 27th is actually the 5-day workshop with me. So we're going to do some pretty cool stuff. Now, some people say, well, gee, can I do this online? And the answer is yes and no. Here's the thing. There's some material that is only learnable, teachable, whatever you want to call it, in person. So when you come to a transformational event, you quantum leap your life, like really quantum leap. In fact, I just bumped into one of my students from last year's, which was called Supercharge Your Healing Powers program. So there's a little bit of that program in this one, but this one's a 5-day program. So, but in last year's program, so I was talking to Dave, and he is a healer, although not professionally, as such per se, full time. And he says that his healing abilities are, just skyrocketed after coming to the event, after that 3-day event. And it's still good. I mean, we're talking like, what, 3/4 of a year later? And he says it's amazing. And every person that came to that event, who I measured their power levels before and after, everyone got to a 10 out of 10, which is super cool. So when you come to a training event, you know, leapfrog or you quantum leap, whatever you want to call it, to another level of transformation. And some of the training that we do is best done in person with a group or with a partner, because otherwise you can't practice it. It's really difficult in your home to talk to your computer and it not talk back to you. You know what I mean? You know, so I highly encourage you, if you really want to quantum leap your experience, please come to the Light Warrior Training Camp. I'll be talking more about that in later videos. It's September 22nd to the 27th, and you can just go to lightwarriortrainingcamp.com to learn more, get more details. And if you register before July 30th, there is a special masterclass series that I'm offering as a gift, as a bonus. The first will be before the event, and the other two will be integration ones after the event. We're calling that the Discover Your Superpowers 3-part masterclass. So that will be my gift to you when you come to the event. And so if you register for July 30th, though, only, so please do that as soon as possible. I can't wait to see you in person. We had such a blast last year. I absolutely loved it. So I hope to see you in September. So a couple of announcements. If you didn't have a chance to listen to last week's radio show, the Life Wave Ask the Doctors radio show, we had a special guest, my friend Dr. Quila Ryder, on that show, where she revealed her protocol, her patching protocol, on how she's started healing her eyes. So she was able to get her prescription down. Now she uses all of the patches, but she talks about how she uses the patches on an eye mask when she sleeps at night, which is pretty darn cool. I did write a blog post about it as well, so you can check out the radio show using the link below this video. And the other announcement is Monday, 12 noon Eastern on Light Warrior Radio. I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Alyssa Shepard, a friend of mine. And, you know, she told me something very scary. She's an expert in birthing bliss. Now, I was like, what? You know, and what is that? Well, she said very few births these days are done naturally. Natural childbirth is becoming extinct, and that's really sad and alarming at the same time. But she has found a way to really empower women to have the best birthing experience possible. So I, like anybody who's pregnant that I know that's pregnant, I'm like, go see Dr. Alyssa, you know, or doctor or train with her or whatever, because like I said, this is a dying art. You know, the art of childbirth. But can you imagine having a blissful childbirth? Like, who thinks of that, right? So join us on the show. So in case you know anyone who is pregnant, who's into, you know, holistic health, this is a perfect fit for them. Join me on the show. We're going to go ahead and put the link below as well. And you can ask questions live, get some live coaching and mentoring from Dr. Alyssa Shepard on the show. The number to call in at 12 noon Eastern is 818-514-1190. Hit 1 so we know your hand is up. 818-514-1190. So that's it for this week's Spiritual Medicine Digest. I look forward to talking to you next week. Bye for now. Lots of love.